This podcast contains explicit language.
Bafangu!
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM, safety contact.
From Assignment X, thesoniashow.com, and Amalgamated Storytelling, this is the Dorking Out Show, the podcast for people who love stories from movies, TV, books, podcasts, and everywhere else.
Welcome to episode 121 of Dorking Out. This is the Summer Movies edition. My name is Sonia Mansfield. My regular co-host, Christopher Allen Smith, is still on sabbatical, rehab. But joining me today is a very special guest. It's Margo from Book vs. Movie, the Best Neighbors podcast, Fit Bottom Girls, Not Fade Away, and probably every podcast you listen to. Thanks for coming on the show, Margo.
Thank you for having me on again. You know how much I love doing your show. I love being invited.
Well, and I love having you on, and all of our listeners love it. Everyone loved the true crime one we did, so hopefully they love this one as much too.
I hope so too. I'll admit to you, I was sweating when I came up with my list.
Yeah.
Because a couple of times I'm like, am I going to be judged for this? Is this cool enough? I don't know. I hope they like it.
There's 100% stuff on my list that is not cool. So
okay, good.
We should talk about our list. So we're going to talk about movies that remind us of summer. So these aren't necessarily like the best movies about summer. They're just movies that personally remind us of summer. And we wanted to make sure that we talked about a lot of different movies, so we kind of removed some obvious summer movie staples from our lists. Correct?
Yes. Including Jaws, right?
Right.
Jaws is on that list?
Yeah, so we removed Jaws, Jurassic Park, Do the Right Thing, Star Wars, and Beach Blanket Bingo, which are like kind of five like obvious summer movies that are not going to be on our list.
Yeah, we thought it would be more fun to kind of like, pick more personal picks that remind us of summer versus something anybody would say. Anybody would say Jaws, and Jaws is one of the best movies of all time.
Exactly. It is like the summer movie. Everybody will say Jaws. Like, it's the movie that started the summer blockbuster season. Like, it's the thing. It's the shit. So, like, we get it. Everyone loves Jaws.
Everyone's on board with Jaws.
Yeah. So, should we just dig right in? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So this one really is like kind of a personal pick. My first pick is 1989's Batman. And here's why this is my pick. I worked at a movie theater for 8 years. Now, I had to work my way through college, so I was like working full time and I was going to school part time. So if listeners are like, gosh, Sonia worked at the movie theater for a long time, that's why. I was working my way through school. And Batman was the first really big blockbuster that played at my theater. Like, crazy busy. It was the first movie that had lines around the block before we even opened to buy tickets. Like, this is old school. You couldn't even buy tickets in advance. You could only pay with cash, no cards, no checks, nothing. There were lines for this movie all day. I was selling tickets, cleaning theaters, popping popcorn, and watching bits and pieces of this movie for months.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's so summer to me. And listening to like the Prince soundtrack played in all the theaters. Like, it was a small theater. It had like 5 screens. Although that was big at the time, but now that's downright adorable.
What theater was this, by the way?
It was the Regency in Pleasant Hill.
Oh God, I know that.
Yeah,
I used to live in the Bay Area, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty little. It's sad. Mm-hmm. There's a Lamps Plus there now. It's so sad. But anyway, I think 3 of the theaters were playing Batman out of the 5, and it's just, I know it's not a movie that has like a summer theme to it or vibe to it, but it just means summer to me. And it's a huge comic book movie before they were coming out like every 3 months.
Right.
And it really is like my favorite Batman. I know, like, logically, I'm like, I know The Dark Knight is the better movie. Like, if you put them side by side, I'm like, I know The Dark Knight's better. But I would sit down and watch Batman right now before I would watch The Dark Knight. I super love the original Batman.
It's fantastic. And do you remember, I think we're around the same age, it was a big controversy to hire Michael Keaton.
Oh, for sure.
Nerds at the time freaked out because they're like, oh, he's so jokey. He's from Mr. Mom.
Yeah. Oh, they got the guy from Gung Ho to play Bruce Wayne.
I love Gung Ho, by the way.
Yeah, I like Michael Keaton so much. I think he's
so sexy and funny and good in everything he does.
He is. He's one of those people that you're like, at least I'm going to see Michael Keaton when you see his name in the credits. Yep. And yeah, it was a super big deal. And it's kind of funny to think about now because all the fanboys, like, and I always say fanboys, but it's really fan people, kind of freak out for every big casting news. And it's just always been that way. It's always been that way. And they shit all over Michael Keaton. And now they're like, Michael Keaton's my favorite. And then they freaked out when it's Val Kilmer. And then they freaked out when it was George Clooney. And, you know, it just goes on and on.
So they're kind of right about them.
Fact. But
in fact. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And I do remember that movie came out. And yeah, you're right. God, it's so funny to think about that now. I was thinking about Jurassic Park the other day, and I was in San Ramon, California, and outside the movie theater, broiling hot afternoon, waiting in line to purchase a ticket to then go in.
Saw it.
It's incredible.
Here we're going to start going deep on Nerdy Bay Area stuff. So then you saw it at the Crow Canyon Theater, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I also saw it at the Crow Canyon Theater because that was part of our chain, so I could see it for free. But also because they got digital sound.
Yes, that's right.
And it was like Jurassic Park was like the first big movie to have digital sound, and everyone lost their minds to see it with the digital sound.
There was something on Patrick, on fthismovie.com.
Yeah.
Somebody found an original clip from the Bay Area. I think it was Adam Risky found a clip from the Bay Area the night that we're talking about Jurassic Park now, but Jurassic Park was released in the Bay Area. And they had 4 reporters around the Bay Area. Someone in San Jose, someone in Walnut Creek, someone in San Francisco, like, yep, people are in line here. And then they're talking to people. And it went on for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
that's a good choice.
I just did this podcast episode with my dad, and Jurassic Park is the last movie he saw in the theater, and before that he hadn't seen a movie in the theater since like Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider, and I had convinced him to go see Jurassic Park in the theater because I was like, it's such a big deal, Dad. You should go see Jurassic Park in the theater. The sound's amazing. It looks like real dinosaurs, and then he fell asleep.
Oh, Dad.
I know. But we're not talking about Jurassic Park. We were talking we were talking about Batman. What's on your list?
So my number 5 or whatever, and these are all kind of random, but this movie, it has summer in the title, and it's from the 1980s. So yes, it's going to be problematic, but I still kind of love it. And it's called Summer School.
Oh my God, Summer School was almost on my list.
I love this movie. It's so stupid and great. It's directed by Carl Reiner. It's Mark Harmon, Kirstie Alley, Courtney Thorne-Smith. Mark Harmon is a summer school teacher, Shep. He normally is like the gym teacher, I think, and he gets talked into teaching summer school, and he teaches all these remedial English class to a bunch of dumb kids who are really hilarious.
God, I love this movie. I'm so glad it's on your list.
Yes, and it's funny because Kirstie Alley is super cute. Like this is back when in her Cheers day, and she's she teaching the smart kids that go to summer school in the summer. I knew kids like that. Yeah, and he's teaching, but he learns to be a good teacher, and there's all these life lessons along the way. It's a little weird. Courtney Thorne-Smith, I think she's like 16 in the movie. At one point, she moves in with Shep because she's being crowded out of her family home, and nobody blinks an eye, and nobody thinks that's weird.
Yeah, well, and then she kind of has a crush on him, right?
Oh, yeah. It's deeply inappropriate. And then there's another girl that's pregnant. I actually like the storyline. There's a girl that's pregnant in class, but she needs a coach for Lamaze, so she brings her teacher with her.
Yeah.
And, like, I've never done Lamaze. I've never had a kid, but I've seen Lamaze classes, and you're kind of sitting close to each other when all this is going on. It's problematic for sure, but it still makes me laugh. There's a guy named Chainsaw that's in there that's kind of this nerd I love.
They were my favorite. In the movie, there's these two guys who are like super into horror movies.
Yes.
And they're just these dorks who are really into scary movies. And I knew people like that. I still know people like that.
Yep.
And those were the characters that I was like, oh, I really know people like this. So there's like just a little bit of truth in the movie. But I really love that movie.
It's very silly.
It is very silly. I mean, and almost everyone in the movie is too old to be playing a teenager, of course.
Sure.
But it's just fun.
It's just a fun, nice little slice of a movie. You won't be offended by it. There's some good jokes in there. There's good gags because Chainsaw and his friend do these horror gags. Like they go to the petting zoo and they take bunny rabbits that are stuffed animals and they pour like blood all over them and they attach it to their faces screaming, "Killer bunnies, killer bunnies." I remember that made me laugh so hard the first time I saw that.
Well, what's funny is I have a friend who actually does stuff like that, and his name is named Anthony, and he now directs like the Sharknado movies. And he was one of these guys.
Yeah.
He was these guys that like would just do weird shit when you were out because he was super into horror movies, and he would just like reference them all the time and like do weird stuff, and he was basically Chainsaw. So funny.
All right, so what's your pick?
Okay, so I love that was on your list because I had that one written down next to this one and I couldn't decide which one to pick. So I picked One Crazy Summer.
Oh my God, I almost picked that one. That's great.
Oh my God, we're so ridiculous, of course. Of course you did. So One Crazy Summer, 1986. It's written and directed by Savage Steve Holland. It's the same guy who did Better Off Dead. And it's got John Cusack, Demi Moore, Bobcat Goldthwait, Curtis Armstrong, and Joel Murray. That's Bill Murray's brother, I believe. And I think everyone knows Better Off Dead. But we're talking about summer movies, so I picked One Crazy Summer. And it's a lot like those kind of random comedies from the 80s and 90s where it's like, you know, we need to win a race to stop greedy land developers. Like, it's like, that's what they're all about, right?
Right. And hilarity ensues.
Yeah, but the story and the characters, like, they're almost so obvious that it's almost a spoof of, like, those 80s teen comedies. And it's got, like, wacky best friends and, like, the super beautiful girl that our heroes kind of overlooking for like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl instead. And it's got that weird random comedy that Better Off Dead had that we all loved so much. And I had a huge crush on John Cusack back in the day.
Who didn't?
Right? Like The Sure Thing and this movie and Better Off Dead. I mean, this is all before Say Anything, which like made him like everybody's crush. But like, I had a huge crush on him. I was probably 15 when this came out, so I had to see it, and I recorded it off HBO, and I watched it all the time. And Demi Moore was so cute.
Oh, she's adorable.
She's so cute.
She's beautiful. And Bobcat Goldthwait is really funny and goofy in there. Yeah. And it's got some good lines. It's also, I think, pretty family friendly. It's there's nothing salacious about it.
No.
It's just a silly little comedy like all those Savage Steve Holland comedies were.
A good use of Bobcat Goldthwait too. They keep it because he could be really annoying, but they keep it minimal. Like they keep it. Yeah. They use him sparingly. And Demi Moore plays a singer because, of course, she does. And she's really sweet.
Yeah.
You know, this is before she was like a big star. She's probably doing like General Hospital before this.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You know, God, what was her character's name on?
Oh, no, was it not Jackie?
Blackie?
No, Blackie was John Stamos.
Oh, yeah. God, I can't remember.
No. Oh, I can't. Oh, no, it's going to kill me later. I know. It's going to pop in my head later. I'm going to be so upset with myself.
I'm going to remember at like 3 a.m. and I'm going to sit up in bed and be like, it was
Jackie Templeton.
Ah!
Jackie Templeton. That's who she played. I love General Hospital.
God, I used to love General Hospital too.
Oh, it was the best. It was the best.
We would have been hanging out, Margo. We would have been
as friends.
Yeah, we would have gone to the movies together. Would have been awesome. So that's one on my list. What's next on your list?
So what's next on my list? It's also 86. So once again, it's going to be problematic, but that's okay. And it's actually technically doesn't take place in the summer. It takes place during the school year, but it takes place in Arizona, and there's an outdoor pool, and they're outside all the time. So for some reason, it always reminds me of summer. And it's a movie called Back to School, and it's Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah.
And Robert Downey Jr. and Keith Gordon. And Rodney Dangerfield can be really obnoxious.
Yeah, kind of a Bobcat Goldthwait situation.
Oh, yeah, but if you were on coke. Like, Rodney was very hyper, let's just say. When you rein him in, he's actually a good actor.
Right.
And he's this rich guy, Thornton Mellon. He calls it the fat and tall shop. And in order to connect with his son, who's in college and is having a hard time, he decides to enter college because he never went to college himself. And he felt, weird about that because he should have been. He was a successful businessman. So he enters college. And of course, like they do up the dorm rooms and they have spas in them. Like Thornton Mellon overdoes everything, but he's so charming and funny that you kind of root for him. And there's a whole thing at the end where there's a diving board competition, the triple Lindy.
Yeah. Do they have to beat like evil land developers at all? I forget.
No, they have to beat. Oh God, what I'm thinking of is that the Karate Kid, William Zabka. Zabka's in this movie, and he plays a total shit. So,
as usual.
Of course, as usual. So he has he's in there. There's a great scene where I think it's Emmett Walsh, where he and Rodney Dangerfield's characters meet, and Emmett looks at him and goes, "What are you doing here?" And Rodney Dangerfield says, "Well, I'm looking for the fountain of middle age." It's such a great joke. He's so funny in this movie, and it's great. They have Oingo Boingo, playing a house party.
That's so cool.
I love this movie. It's so sweet.
And it has Sally Kellerman.
Yeah. And Sam Kinison.
Oh, God.
Plays a crazy teacher.
He was so funny.
He was so great. R.I.P. Yeah. It's so that's my pick. It's Back to School.
That's a great pick. And
thank you.
It does have a summer vibe to it.
It does.
For
totally.
Sure. So you already know about that this one was going to be on my list. Next on my list is 1991's Point Break.
Yes.
Which we were both like, we both wanted it. But I'm a jerk who was like, it's mine. And this is another one that like played at my theater. So I have kind of a soft spot for it. And all my friends who worked at the theater, we were all obsessed with it. And we used to like jump up on tables and desks and act like we were surfing and stuff. So it does have like this summer vibe to me. And this movie has no business being as good as it is. Like,
yeah,
it should be laughably bad. It's about a undercover FBI agent who goes undercover as a surfer to bust up a gang of surfers who dress up as ex-presidents, because of course they do, to rob banks so that they can keep surfing. It should be the biggest piece of shit movie ever, and instead it's the best. It's directed by Catherine Bigelow, who of course did like Hurt Locker and Detroit, and I just super love this movie.
I love it too.
It never pretends to be anything other than what it is. And it's just a super entertaining action movie.
Yeah. And it's Keanu Reeves as Johnny Utah.
Oh, my God.
Like, what's a better name than that?
Yeah. This was like peak Keanu Reeves.
And peak Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. So Keanu Reeves had done like, I think Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey had come out this year. And like Paula Abdul's video for Rush Rush came out. And he was like everywhere. Like every girl was like, Keanu Reeves. Like we were like, he had done Parenthood, I think, the year before.
Yes.
Like he was adorable. Adorable.
He still is.
Yeah, he's still adorable. Everyone loves, come on, everybody loves him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And people like to make fun of his acting. Like some people think that he's not a very good actor.
Right.
I'll fight them to the death. I think he's a great movie star.
Yeah.
And I like just about everything he's ever done. I always like him in it, even if it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Like Dracula. But I always like him.
Yes.
And I think this is one of his best roles. He's never sexier.
Yeah. No, everybody I think everybody loves Point Break. If you don't love Point Break, we can't be friends.
Right. There's something off about you.
It's legit entertaining. It's got just the right amount of Gary Busey. You know, Lori Petty's so cute.
Adorable.
Like, the surfing's really cool. Yeah, and it was kind of a big deal for Patrick Swayze to play a bad guy. Like, you know, he had done Dirty Dancing and Ghost, and you know, I have a real soft spot for Patrick Swayze. Like, and I'm gonna talk about him more a little bit later on the list.
Okay.
But yeah, he's awesome.
I like Lori Petty as a choice, by the way, because she's like an offbeat, good-looking. Like, she was. Yeah, there was really interesting casting choices in there. I think Flea is in this movie from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I think that's right. I did read that originally they had approached like all these other people before Keanu Reeves, and I thought it was really funny because I was like, none of these would have worked. So it was like Matthew Broderick, Johnny Depp, Val Kilmer, and Charlie Sheen were all considered at one point.
No.
And I guess it was going to be directed by Ridley Scott. And I was like, none of those would have worked. I think you really need Keanu Reeves.
He's key.
I think he is.
You have to root for Johnny.
Yeah. Matthew Broderick would have been like comically bad, but.
But you know what? I would see that movie. At least a few scenes.
What else is on your list?
Okay, so next on my list, it's from 2005. And here's my thing. If you don't find this movie charming on some level, we can't be friends. But it's called Roll Bounce. And it's Nick Cannon, Wayne Brady. It's summer of 1978, and it's roller disco.
I haven't seen this one, and I need to see it. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm giving you have to see this movie. Like it's an African American cast. And like I said, it's 1978, and basically the kids go roller boogieing every day. And the 70s soundtrack is just, it's like off the chain.
It's stupid that I haven't seen this actually.
You would so enjoy it. There's like, it has a lot of heart to it. There's a single dad in there who is basically underemployed. You know, he's very smart, but he can't get the job he really wants to get. And he loves his sons. And his son is like, he and his friends are kind of scrawny and little, but they're really good skaters. And then they have the big skating competition. And there's like these groups of skaters.
Are there greedy land developers?
No, I don't know about a land developer.
Screw this movie. No, I'm just kidding.
But it has Kool and the Gang on the soundtrack. It has the Gap Band. Like it's so charming. It's so sweet, and it feels so much like summer when I watch it, and it just takes me away from anything. Like it's just seriously, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it.
Yeah.
Roll Bounce.
It's going
wonderful.
I'm watching it this week.
Good.
Good. I was just bragging yesterday about what a great roller skater I am. And Kool and the Gang and the Gap Band, you really sold me now.
Yeah.
Oh, roller skating was my thing back in the day. I used to love it. But now I'm all old and I probably twist my ankle or something.
I'm sure I would break my neck. I know.
I would try to like shoot the duck and I'd fall and like I couldn't get back up. But that's going on my list.
Good.
So my next one is All Right. Dazed and Confused from 1993.
Holy crap. That was on my list too.
Is it on your list or it was almost on your list?
It is on my list. But
okay.
You know what? I'll pick something out. I have something else I can bring up instead. Go ahead.
Okay. So written and directed by Richard Linklater. It's really just a fun movie with a bunch of interesting characters on the last day of school in 1976 in Texas. And it's got this crazy cast. So it's like Jason London, Ben Affleck, Parker Posey, Adam Goldberg, Joey Lauren Adams, Matthew McConaughey, of course. I think this was his first movie, right? Mm-hmm. And he steals like every scene. It's just such a good movie. It captures like the joy of school being out. And you've got like 3 months to hang out and do something or nothing. And I don't know. I feel like kids don't get to do that anymore. Like, before we started recording, I was like, my kid's going to summer camp. You know, it's all summer camps and summer jobs. And I watch this movie and I just feel like I wish I had been a teenager in the 70s. Like, but I don't know. It probably sucked too. But I like that it's just an interesting movie about teenagers because it's not about like jocks and nerds and cheerleaders and dorky girls, or it's just they all hang out together and they talk and they, you know, commit random acts of vandalism and and drink and, you know, cruise around, and I just love it. And Parker Posey is so funny.
Air
raid, bitches!
Oh, I had both. They had 2 soundtracks from that movie.
Yeah.
And I had both of them. And I love it because when I was a kid, because I didn't go to camp at all. I mean, very rarely did we do that. We went camping as a family, but I didn't go to camp. And I remember there were days in the summer back before the internet and, 100 channels on cable or whatever, like you would get really bored in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Like you'd be like 11:30 in the morning walking around like, all right, what are we going to do now? It's like there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
And
there were no summer camps for me either. Like,
yeah. There were just times when we lived in the country in Pennsylvania for a while. I remember, oh my God, the days would just drag by. I didn't want to go to school. I hated school. Yeah. But it was just really, but they capture that boredom really well. And all of the kids, like they're all individuals. I mean, Adam Goldberg is hilarious.
Yeah.
In this movie. There's some great lines.
I want to dance.
It's just Anthony Rapp is in this movie.
Yes.
He would win a Tony later for Rent. Ben Affleck is unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And he's great. He
is.
I think he's playing close to type. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. He's playing a real jerk.
Yeah.
And I love Rory Cochrane is, I can't remember his character's name, but, Slater.
He's such a stoner.
Yeah, he's such a stoner, and like all of his stuff, like, check you later. Like just the way he is. It's just so funny. I love this movie. I'm going to watch it right after we're done.
Yes, good. That's an awesome pick. All right, so I'm going to go to an alternate, and then I'll go to my number one.
Okay.
So, I have 3 of them. All right. I'm just going to pick the one I love the most. This is 1978, and the movie is called Breaking Away.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Indiana in the summer, and it's like after high school, before college, and there's these 4 guys, and they're cutters, and they're kind of from the wrong side of the tracks, the poor kids in town, and one of them is an excellent cyclist. And he and his friends compete in a cycling competition at the end. And spoiler, they win. And if you can watch that and not cry, you're a stronger person than me. It still makes me weepy. Paul Dooley as the dad is wonderful. Who's in this movie? It's Dennis Quaid. It's like super, super hot.
Oh, Dennis Quaid. You and I were just chatting about him. Recently about the Big Easy.
Yes.
Sexy.
He's always good. He's incredibly sexy. He's very sexy. And this movie, it just has a ton of heart to it. And, nobody's perfect. They all have their flaws, but they're all kind of just wonderful. The guy that Dennis, last name Dennis, God damn it. He's our lead, the actor, I mean. He pretends that he speaks Italian the whole time because he's obsessed with Italy and Italians. And so he woos a girl, and she thinks he's an exchange student. And he keeps up this ruse the whole time. And it's just, it's just so wonderful. Jackie Earle Haley's in this movie.
I think it's
Daniel Stern.
Daniel Stern, that's right. I think it's one of those movies, too, that... it's a legit good movie, and I don't want to sound like it's not a good movie, but it's also one of those movies that when they talk about chick flicks, like this one's like a guy flick.
Yes,
like
much.
Men have a certain soft spot for this movie, I think. It'll make them cry. Kind of like Shawshank Redemption. It'll make anyone cry.
I think so. I think there's something to relate in all of them, and it's great performances. It's filmed, I want to go there and just see all the locations. It's really, really wonderful. So that's my number 4, Breaking Away.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
So these weren't in any kind of order, but this is the last one on my list. It is 1987's Dirty Dancing. I love that I had to say 1987's just in case you thought I was going to pick the remake.
Or the lambada one or
right.
something.
Yeah, no, Dirty Dancing. And I remember seeing a preview for this movie in front of, I think, summer school. And the preview, like, people were giggling. They were like, that's not a real movie. Like, because the title is really stupid. Dirty Dancing is very stupid. But, you know, I cannot state enough how big of a phenomenon this movie was. Like, it had 2 soundtracks. There was a tour with, like, music and dancers. And everybody loved this movie who saw it, especially girls. Like, I love this movie, and I saw it in the theater. And I saw it multiple times. I, of course, like, rented it a million times. I recorded it when it was on HBO. And I just adore this movie. And it wasn't until I was making this list that I realized I have such a soft spot for Patrick Swayze.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he's wonderful in it.
I knew that I like Patrick Swayze. But it wasn't until I was making the list where I was like, gosh, I really have this soft spot for him. Like, I think he's so good in the movie. And I was trying to think what else I loved about the movie. It's not just Patrick Swayze. It's not just the music. It's not just the dancing. I'm a terrible dancer. So there's a little part of me that, like, wishes I was, like, this really great dancer. So I like musicals and things like that. But I think I really love Jennifer Grey in this movie. I love her character Baby. I love that she's so smart and she has this idea of right and wrong. I feel like I could relate to her at the time. And she has this idea that we should treat people the same, but she's also really awkward. You know, like, I carried a watermelon, you know, that line. Like, it's something I think about all the time when I say something stupid. In my head, I'm like, I carried a watermelon.
I have a confession.
Yes.
I've never seen this movie all the way through.
Oh, no!
I avoided it because it was everywhere. Sometimes I do that when something is everywhere. It just gets on my nerves.
Yeah,
and at the time,
I totally
worked
get
at
it.
the mall, and they played that music.
Yeah.
Like on the radio, those songs played over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think I just I don't know what it was. I was just kind of like, oh, that's not going to be my thing. And I've seen it, but I've never actually sat down to, like, watch it. So I know everybody always thinks I'm crazy when I say that. That and Top Gun, I've, like, never really watched.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about Top Gun, but it's really more of, like, a cultural touchstone than whether I think it's, like, a good movie or not. But Dirty Dancing, I could see, by the way, why people wouldn't see it. You know, my husband hasn't seen it either. He's like, why would I see Dirty Dancing? That's for chicks or whatever. But, you know, he would never say chicks. He's like, that's for girls. He's very proper. But the title is stupid, and it looks, if you see a preview for it, you're like, that looks stupid. I get it. I totally get it. But, like, I actually think there's more. Like I said, I really like Baby. I think she's a good character. She has a good friendship with Cynthia Rhodes' character in it that could have been, like, in a lesser movie, it would have been about, like, being competitive and jealous. But it's actually, like, kind of a sweet friendship. And she really admires her, even though she's different or from the wrong side of the tracks, quote unquote. And I think the movie has something to say about, like, economic differences. You know, Patrick Swayze's character's poor. You know, a lot of the dancers, the people who work at the resort they're all poor. You know, and then the people, and they're serving these rich people. So it has something to say about that, and it also has something to say about abortion, which a lot of movies don't to do, and you know, and father-daughter relationships, and it just reminds me of summer. I mean, maybe because the soundtrack was everywhere.
It was everywhere. I remember Patrick Swayze had a song. Eric Carmen.
Oh, yeah. Eric Carmen. Yeah, the Hungry Eyes.
I mean, there's a few. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and of course,
like I said, I had to hear it every day. And then everybody talked about it all the time. And sometimes that just happens. I get a little. I've seen scenes. I've seen the Jerry Orbach scene. Yeah. Where he's giving the abortion to the girl. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is good. I'd watch a movie about this. But then they start dancing, and I'm like, Yeah. I don't like dancing. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry.
It's a weird mix of a lot of different things. But when I sat down to think about it, I really kept coming back to Jennifer Grey's performance in Baby and how, like, she just is a very different kind of character for this kind of movie. I think a lesser movie would have had her be, I don't know, stupid or not as I like her idea of, like, she's really trying to do the right thing and that deep down she's a really good person. So
I'm sold.
I really
I'm
love
sold.
Dirty Dancing.
I, as you should.
I had the time of my life watching it.
Oh, God.
Wah, wah.
Holy shit.
I hate myself for making that joke.
You had to go. By the way, in my head, I just popped into my mind. The actor's name is Dennis Christopher. He's the lead in Breaking Away.
Oh,
that would have driven me crazy if I didn't remember that. Okay, so here's my last one.
Yeah.
And this was no particular order, and you and I talked about this, and it's so freaking obvious, but I don't care that it's obvious. It's Wet Hot American Summer.
That's an awesome, awesome, awesome pick. It had to be on someone's list.
It has to be. And this movie came out 2001. I remember I saw it. I was living in New York when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. And, it was a very stressful time.
Yeah, just a little. A little.
Just a little sad, a little whatever. And I remember this is one of the first things I watched it. I'm sure it was on DVD or something when I watched it the first time. And I remember just laughing. So it's very silly and very, it's making fun of movies like Meatballs and Summer School and stuff like that. And it's got Amy Poehler, Janine Garofalo, Paul Rudd, Michael Showalter, Chris Maloney. It's got this huge cast, and it's just jokes. And Silas Molly Shannon is in this. It's making fun of camp, and I never went to camp, but I like Meatballs. I know what camp is, and it's just a lot of really dumb. There's goofy jokes where like Michael Ian Black, where he's riding a motorcycle and he's really upset, and then it's obvious there's like a stunt double like riding the motorcycle, and then they put him back on the motorcycle, and it's just like it's so silly, but stuff like that just hits my funny bone.
Oh, it's got Bradley Cooper, right?
It's one of his first roles.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd is in this thing. It's got a tremendous cast, and it's just silly and funny, and it just makes me laugh. And I don't know. It always makes me smile. I own it.
Yeah.
I like to watch it every once in a while. So that's Wet Hot American Summer.
It's so light and it's so funny, and it also it's not taxing. Like, you can start it and like go to the kitchen and like get something and come back and like, and you're not going to miss anything. Not that you might miss some jokes, but like, it's just such an easy watch.
Yeah. You can fold laundry.
Yeah. And it's just so fun. And Paul Rudd, is he like a wizard or something? Why is it he hasn't aged at all?
No, he has not. I know.
They did
He's a wizard.
They did the Netflix like 10 years later, of Wet Hot American Summer, where they did like the first day. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I didn't think it was as good.
Yeah,
but I definitely enjoyed it.
But it was so funny is because everybody's aged, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But Paul Rudd looks exactly the same. He looks exactly the same. I'm like, he's like a wizard or something. He's like sold his soul to the devil or something. He's very handsome and hasn't aged since Clueless. It's really weird.
It's crazy. And he's very funny in this movie, too.
So funny.
Everyone's funny.
Yeah. I love Wet Hot American Summer, and I knew it was on your list, which is why I kept it off of my list.
Aww.
Because that one is such a fun one. I'm glad it was on your list.
Me too. I had a couple of others, but there's one of them is Before Sunrise.
Oh, I love Before Sunrise.
I fucking love that trilogy.
Yeah, I love it.
It's wonderful. I love the acting, but I love, that came out either 94 or 95. That movie came out.
Yeah.
I graduated college in 94. I was like you. I had to work to put myself through school, so it took me a little longer. That summer I graduated. It was the summer after Kurt Cobain died. I remember that because you saw his T-shirt everywhere in Europe.
Right.
But I remember just backpacking through Europe, and then I came back and I missed that experience. And like every time I put this movie on, it reminds me of that. Waiting for hours for a train. or trying to strike up conversations with other people who speak English. It's just, it's so wonderful.
I love that movie. I love all of them. I love all three of them, but that one is the one that's obviously like the most fun to watch of the three.
Because they're falling in love.
Yeah. And Ethan Hawke was so dreamy.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Then he did Reality Bites, and I was like, what a dick. But
he is awful in that movie.
Yeah, by the way, we should do a whole podcast about Reality Bites, because I have lots of thoughts and feelings about that movie.
Let's do it, because I do too. And I remember being in the movie theater watching it going, wait a minute, why is she with that guy?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
Oh my God, we need to, all right, I'm writing it down. We're not going to talk any more about that, because that needs to be a separate thing.
And then the other one I was going to pick, it's on the short list, was The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Good one.
Just because it takes place in the summer in Italy, and Matt Damon's in there, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, Kate Blanchett. Like, that's another one Jude Law, who's wonderful.
Yeah.
Gwyneth's even good in it. But she's playing herself.
Even Gwyneth's good in it.
She doesn't drive me crazy in this movie.
Yeah, she's done a couple movies where I'm like, I like her in this, but then I see her in, on TV doing interviews, and I'm like, oh, shut up, Gwyneth.
Oh, God, spreading her pseudoscience and all that stuff. Yes, I hate that.
Yeah, well, right after we're done recording this, I'm going to go steam my vagina.
When I saw Chrissy Teigen was doing that on Twitter, she posted a picture. I'm like, no, Chrissy, you're supposed to be smarter than that.
That's not a thing. Stop doing that.
Stop doing that.
You guys, stop taking science advice from Goop.
Yes, please.
And that's a whole other podcast, too.
Yeah.
So this was super fun, as always.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love coming on the show.
I love it when you come on. Where can people find you on the internet?
So the best thing to do is to follow me on social media at Brooklyn Fit Chick. And that's for Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. That's my blog, brooklynfitchick.com. And you just type the letters out and you'll find me. And that's especially on Twitter, you can interact with me there. And then I always post the other shows that I work on there, so you can find out the other shows I work on and stuff like that. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'm warning you right now, I post a lot of pictures of my cats.
I love it.
They are the cutest cats in Brooklyn.
Come on. They are.
Come on. Yeah. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah. If people don't like your cat pictures, then I'm sorry that they have cold, dead hearts. Come on. Come on. And you can find the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com. And we're on Twitter at Dorking Out Show. You could follow me at The Sonia Show. I'm not going to tell you where you could find Chris, because screw him. That's what he gets for taking a sabbatical. This was super fun, as always. Thank you so much, Margo, for coming on the show.
Thanks again for having me.
And I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.